What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Weekday Weird. Matt and Greg here. We're talking about some breaking news in the Jack the Ripper case. We just got an article that was sent to us by a couple people, and it talks about Jack the Ripper being finally solved with DNA evidence.
Yeah, this case goes back, 150 years almost?
Yeah, it started in September 30th, 1888. Over in London. And this is one that we want to talk about.
Hello, Londoners.
Is that how you greet them when you're over there?
Oh, yeah.
Now, with this one, we definitely are going to talk about, we're going to talk about Jack the Ripper in a whole, part of our series for the serial killer series.
Yep.
And this one was just brought to our attention because it was just recently posted with this DNA evidence that links a gentleman who was a suspect in the Jack the Ripper, or as they call it, the Whitechapel murders.
Ooh, buddy.
This one is good, man. But this article, the gist of it,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it, it gives information and it names a suspect.
It does, which is good.
Which it is really great in this case. And then we know DNA evidence is now being used in pretty much everything when people get tried with murder, just different suspect with rape, everything.
Well, anything
DNA
really.
Evidence plays in a key, right?
Yeah, anything. Look at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, right? They said they would probably never have one of those ever again because of DNA evidence, because they can link certain parts up to.
So this article just points out the fact that they have DNA evidence obtained from a stain on a shawl with the first victim.
But here's where
Catherine Eddowes.
It supposedly was found. That's where it kind of...
Okay, so the article does say that when it says in part of the article here we're looking at...
I'm the
science
skeptical sidekick. I gotta, bring this stuff up.
I know. And I know you're not a big fan of Jack the Ripper as I am.
Yeah, not really.
Which I don't know why. Didn't you do the tour?
I did do the tour.
So why aren't you a big fan? Because this is one of the greatest mysteries...
It is.
...out there.
I don't know. It just doesn't get me like some of the other ones do.
Why? It's the greatest mystery of all time.
I do like the name of it, Jack the Ripper.
Or... as they call it, the Whitechapel murders.
I know.
But anyway, the DNA evidence that was obtained, which in the article it says on a stained shawl supposedly found at the scene of the crime, the very first murder.
Correct.
Was the big way of mystery and points to one gentleman in particular that has been a suspect of Jack the Ripper, and that is Aaron Kosminski.
Yep. And he was a local barber.
He was a Jewish Polish immigrant that was a barber at the time, and they did say, when the detectives talked about it in the case itself, that he had a hatred for women, especially prostitute class, and had homicidal tendencies.
Well, right there's a couple red flags.
Those are big red flags if you're looking at the murders from Jack the Ripper, because all of them were prostitutes, and when this did happen. But there is... And they ruled him out as a suspect.
They did.
Obviously, in 1888, there was no DNA evidence like there is today, which I think it's much harder nowadays to get, away with crimes.
Yeah, look at the crime that just happened in Staten Island. They killed the mob boss. They found the guy within, 4 days or something like that?
Yeah, well, just think about today. We're watched on a daily basis with cameras.
Yep.
Back then, I'm sure if he was committing the crimes in the same area, there was cameras that might have caught him, right, leaving the scene, and DNA evidence would have played a huge part in this because
100%.
Just how bloody this was.
Yeah.
Some of the crime scenes, and you can actually see crime scene photos from this. It's out there. So that's one of the things, and obviously he was ruled out, or he was part of the suspect list in this long list, and we can look at some of his history, which we won't go into. I think we're going to go into more detail on our actual show, with this as being, again, part of the serial killer series. But the ending of this article, it always gets you, right? The headline always grabs you in.
It does.
New DNA evidence claims to have identified Jack the Ripper, and we know, and they say, all right, is the case closed? Well, unfortunately not, because if you look at the details in this and this report also, which is baffling too, because the scientific community, if you put this out in the DNA, evidence and information, and when they write this, scientific report up, it says it's kind of unusual that they would put this out and even give the name, just because the DNA that was found was so minuscule, and any criminal investigation or case that would be brought up. This is really more to exclude people
not
from the list
not
of suspects.
pinpointed.
Not pinpointed to a direct, gentleman or suspect.
Yeah. So my like thinking when I read that is like, let's say you had a list of 5 suspects and you got this DNA. It ruled out the other 4, but couldn't rule out him.
Right.
So that's basically what it boils down to, and what it actually just did.
And it doesn't give you any other information in this report besides like, all right, well, we kind of ruled out most of them, but not this gentleman in particular. And it was a semen sample that was taken. And here's my only thought on that. I know he was the suspect, and I know he might have had a hatred. He might have wanted to kill this lady, but she was a prostitute.
What do you think? He went to her before?
Yeah, could he have had sex with her beforehand and then left, and then all of a sudden the gentleman or whoever it was come in behind this guy and kill? But this is why this is one of the greatest mysteries, and I cannot wait to talk about. So let us know your thoughts on this article, and if you have any thoughts on Jack the Ripper, visit our website, nightmare365.com, for all of our contact information. And until next time,
stay spooky. Tune in every Wednesday for Weekday Weird, the unexplained, unsolved, and bone-chilling tales. If you didn't know, go back and listen to all of our other podcasts on YouTube or iTunes, and you'll see a little nugget put at the end.